Hello there, welcome to the Xavier Schwint channel, a writing and booktubing channel. So today I had to write an essay for school on authorship as a viable career. And so I decided to make it not just into an essay, but into a video. So I'm trying to not make it just a monotonous video essay of just me reading it off. So I'm going to try and put in some personality. If you don't like that, I will probably put a link to the actual essay in the comments or the description. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So in this video, I will be discussing and explaining why authorship is a viable career, specifically in the traditional space for fiction, delving seldom into the realm of self pub, even though it's growing. It's an awesome space, and I hope to join that eventually, as maybe traditional. So my goal is to inform and convince the reader that authorship is a plausible career choice, and even after a lengthy argument against it being so. Part one, I think it's an ocean. Whether it's concerning fiction or nonfiction, the publishing industry is an ocean of competing content. According to wordsrated.com, about 8 books are published every minute, adding to the ocean. That equates to a whopping 11,000 books published daily. The amount of books that are out there does not, in my opinion, equate to a simple ocean, but a worldwide flood. Part two, never tell me the odds, because I already know them. Going into authorship as a career is risky, hard. It's super hard. Like, you got to actually sit your bottom down in the chair and write. And that's just not even the hardest half. I think editing is a pain. And according to most, highly unlikely to be successful in that career choice. According to absolutewrite.com, only like 3 out of 10,000 will be published. Traditionally, that is. And 81% of Americans, roughly, say that they want to actually write a novel, with only about 1 of 1,000 ending up finishing that novel. So a novel, I'll define that as roughly 50,000 words or more. So a lot of people want to do it. Few succeed. So is it actually the career, or is it the commitment you're putting into it, is the question, which I actually tried and answer in another video of mine, if you check that out on my channel. Part three. Yes, however, there's always hope. Aragorn, the Two Towers. Love me some Lord of the Rings. So I'm assuming that you now are very skeptical about authorship being a viable career. Well, I might have left some things out. Sorry that I pulled an unreliable narrator on you. For one, I forgot to mention that all that sounds daunting, but a lot of it actually doesn't apply anymore to today's industry, which I find absurdly encouraging, sort of. Those worries, while not being entirely untrue, aren't as terrible as they may seem. Yes, it's actually difficult to write a novel. It's very difficult, absurdly difficult. Go ask people who haven't finished novels how hard it is. It's really hard. Yes, it may not be good enough to publish your first draft. Don't expect it to be good enough to publish your first draft. Your first draft is going to be terrible, in my opinion, but it's not. You don't give up on it because it's terrible. See the gem that it could be in some distant universe for me. Probably a closer one for you. But all of those worries and fretting are applicable to your first works. Yes, maybe it's not good enough. Possibly it's like rusted steel. Maybe your second or third, and so on. But eventually, with commitment, as I said, I have another video on commitment. With commitment, you can push through those barriers and turn your love of writing into something that can truly support you in the long run. Wouldn't it be delightful if you had a job that you didn't hate? Part 4. No buts about it. That's 1T if you're wondering. A lot of people would say it's really risky to enter into that career. So why wouldn't you pursue it on the side of a more realistic job? My response to that is No job is risk-free. My hypothetical opponent might respond with, but writing takes so much time to actually start making money from. Well, my response to that is, what do you mean? In 2023, according to credible.com, the average law student graduated with about $130,000 of debt. Doctors rack up debt too. It takes an average of 20 years to pay off, setting the graduate back and establishing some limitations for the relatively near future. Those are what are often considered real jobs. It takes time to actually make money from that, and it takes time to establish. It's a lot of effort as well. Now, I do realize that a lot of people would say, well, at least they start making money after school. But it takes time to do that. 7 years for lawyers, roughly, and for doctors, 11 years, roughly, after high school. Again, it might get a response from an imaginary opponent, but writing takes a long time to establish too, but not as much on average as it does for doctors and lawyers. So, what is the average for authors? So, according to a survey done by the Young Writers Workshop, um, around 6 years is the average for a author to actually start pursuing their writing dreams, in a means that I'm going to try and make this work. 6 years for them to start that and go to the point where they are published or making money in that space. So most, and if you're traditionally published, you could lose your rights too, as I believe I said that earlier. So it's very scary, but you can do it. So most traditionally published authors wrote multiple drafts or books, many of which are not published before they create one that is level of quality that can attract an agent. And then a publisher after that. It takes multiple rewrites and editorial runs before the book is actually published. Obviously, commitment is absurdly important at this point. I hope I've made that clear. It's so important that actually, as I say, I keep plugging it in there. I have a video on my channel specifically about that. So, as I said, the authors, they have to do multiple runs. Brandon Sanderson wrote like 14 books before it was published. I have all sorts of his books now on my shelf. He's making it. J.K. Rowling, Christopher Paolini. We envy him. Part 5, I think. Yes, you probably, won't starve. The average yearly income for an author, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2022 through 2023, that's a mouthful, was $73,000 compared to the average income for a person living in Colorado, which is about $35,000 according to ZipRecruiter.com. So it's a very reasonable income, somewhat, compared to the average in Colorado, which is where I live. In conclusion, I hope this, it says essay, but it obviously is a video, has convinced you that authorship is a risky career, but it is also viable. It is hard, but no less realistic than careers in law or medicine. There is risk in everything, whether it be getting a loan for school. Risks are all around us, whether it's breathing. I mean, think about it. Carbon monoxide. You could die. That's why Give Thanks by Zach Winters, if you hadn't checked that out. It's brilliant because it makes all sorts of, it's crazy you're still alive. Give thanks. That's what that song is. But with the right commitment, effort, work ethic, and devotion, the risks become a little less imposing and your goals just a little closer.
Why would
Walking
you
to your
want to
car knowing that on
pursue
average
a
43,000
job
people
that you
die
don't
from car
enjoy?
crashes
Going
every
to
year
work
in the United States
daily,
alone, just going through the motions, just I have to get this done or I might get fired. At that point, I would just want to get fired because I'm not enjoying what I'm doing. You have to be able to enjoy the journey, as some of Brandon Sanderson's philosophy is enjoy the journey so that you can get to the destination. It's in the present. So if you can enjoy what you're doing currently, that you can bring it to fruition in your destination. It's certainly possible. It's hard, but authorship as a viable career is certainly possible. You take blessings.